Cool, cool. Cool, cool. All right, so I know you're wondering why I brought you all here, and it's really a 2-versus-2 rap battle, and this is going...
We're gonna win.
Yeah, I don't know. So, this is funny. These are all really amazing people, and this is funny. So if we can get the music killed real quick, we will get rolling, and unfortunately, we only have 2 mics, so we will have to play past the mic with this one, and I will host, and I will also take this 5th chair out of the way.
So we can sit by each other.
Yeah, get cozy, get close, you know? Good energy, meet good energy. It's a vibe. So I'm gonna leave Miss Reverie here with the mic right now. I'm gonna get a little closer. And yeah, we're just gonna get into it until the waterman comes. So again, really appreciate all of you being here. We've had a lot of people part of New Friendship Tech that are really doing amazing things, and I think you all are doing that, and that's why I wanted you here, and I want the world to hear about your brilliance, your journey, gain some inspiration, insight, and valuable information that you hold that I don't think a lot of people really get unless they get to beat the algorithm or if they even know about you. So we'll start with that. If you can, give a little bit of an intro of who you are and what you're most known for, maybe, and what you do.
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate everybody who is here as well, giving us your time. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to share my experiences. My name is Reverie. My name's up there. I am a recording artist, as it said up in the flyer, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I am a rapper born and raised here in Los Angeles. I am indie, which means I'm unsigned. I never got a record deal, and I'm not part of a major label, but I pay my bills with my music. I make 6 figures a year, all indie. I've been to 23 countries and most of the United States, all with my music. I have a staff, and I love what I do. So I have a lot of knowledge to share, and I'm excited to spread that to whoever wants to take it in. Yeah.
Amazing.
Peace, everybody. My name is Camille. I'm a rapper, writer, and I guess I'm a community organizer. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I also represent the Inland Empire, so sort of got a 2-home situation. I celebrate my independence as a musician, as an artist. I've never been signed as well. Sort of been on the indie push, and very much inspired by Nip and his family's model of practicing group economics and incorporating family into the business. I do represent Leimert Park, Bananas. That's how I know Spiv right here. And now I'm one of the producers of the Leimert Park Juneteenth Festival, and just being more active in my community. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Both you guys. Well, hi, I'm Leila, and I guess I'm here because young people matter, artists matter, your voices make a difference, you change lives, you change culture, your voices are necessary, so I feel like a senior citizen in this. My grandkids are grown now, so I've been doing it a really long time. I am most, I guess, recognized for my work with Tupac. I was an artist prior to meeting Pac. And I was in the beginning of what it was to have a fight for independence and autonomy as artists. And to see artists not get 3% and 5%, but 60 and 70 and 80 and 90% of their work. I feel like I work for my youngest daughter now. She's really taken over the business. We do still manage artists together. And I have some of my team over here. Hi, you guys. I have a nonprofit. I do a lot of work with youth. I've been working in the prisons for at least 35 years. I think we have to talk about difficult subjects as artists. And we have a lot of work to do, and young people are dying every day. And so you also have a responsibility. Everything that comes out of your mouth lands, and it matters, and you're always modeling behavior. And we made a lot of mistakes when I worked with Tupac and a lot of the artists that came out of the Bay. And because of that, I show up and hope that I can share lessons. Now, I met you online, right, during COVID, and Eric would host rooms on Clubhouse. And you would talk a lot about blockchain and being in the space, and I was very resistant. And I will say I had an interesting time this summer. I ended up meeting Eric Schiermeyer, who founded Gala. And I've since been advising Gala in the music space, and everybody that I've brought to the platform that's independent has sold out, which is exciting. So yeah, I still manage Earl Sweatshirt and a number of other artists, and still hope to make a difference every day. So on that note, it's nice to meet you.
Pleasure. I feel like I should have started before you.
Wait, you didn't
hello,
manage,
everyone.
You didn't manage Tupac?
Okay, it's my time to shine. My name's Iway. I run this little company called MintyBoi Presents, based in Los Angeles. We're an independent promoter based in Los Angeles and New York. I was formerly a talent buyer in New York, still a talent buyer in Los Angeles. That's just a fancier name saying you're a booker of a venue or a space. Aside from that, I also run a talent agency where it's more a booking agency, talent agency. We focus on live for podcasts, comedy, or any live experience for artists. And we do representation for North America and China. I met Spiv when I was like 17 or 18. I'm 24 now. I'm from China and I moved here 10 years ago. I come from the DIY punk rock world and from the Smell, Los Angeles DIY music. So I met Spiv when I was like just starting warehouse shows, punk shows, and we kept in touch. Yeah, and he's seen me grow as a kid to still, a kid, but that's how we got connected, and then he just asked me, and honored to be here to share my experience. Thanks.
Thank you. And so one thing I didn't recognize when I put this panel together, but like you have independent artists tied to philanthropy / social impact, and all of you have like a very unique story that's tied to just leading by example and using your examples as ways of communicating some of your journey. And the artist journey is something that really gets overlooked these days because we're so quick to consume through TikTok or a 1-minute video or a 3-minute YouTube or whatever it may be, that you really kind of build your own persona around an artist. So, that said, I'd be very curious of like, in the art of storytelling now, we have so many tools to do it. What would you say is like one of the biggest obstructions or adversities or walls that you face in an industry that has a lot of noise and a lot of static, that is always at war and you're not able to really, all of you punch through that, but what would you say is like one way that you've overcome adversity or obstruction in finding your voice in your space?
That's a long question.
Who wants to go first?
You want to go first? You got the match?
Oh, okay. So since I'm a promoter, most of the stuff I'll be talking about will be majority in the live concert and live music space. Every morning I wake up, I think about Live Nation and AEG and Golden Voice. These are your two biggest promoters in North America. I had to say maybe 99% of concerts you go to are responsible by these guys. When you pay those like $20 ticket fees to go to a concert, when you pay those fees on Ticketmaster or Access, it goes to these guys' pockets. And in Los Angeles specifically, the weather is so nice. The competition is even stronger. Obviously, we all know corporate has a lot of money, and they own festivals like Coachella, Primavera, Lovers and Friends, a lot of these like high-level festivals. And because going back to Los Angeles having a nice weather, basically entire year, you can throw festivals, and these festivals are tied into your local club venue shows. We work in club levels, anything between 200 to 1,600 caps. Sometimes goes to 3,000 in New York City. So we are always in competition with these bigger guys. And because we're independents, we never has enough money to compete with them if they want to go aggressive. And there's always like a festival tied into, your trajectory as an artist. If you're an artist that want to play these festivals, certain promoters would then go to the festival cherry, so you will play their club shows. That's kind of like what I go through as far as Ever City go as an independent promoter.
And if you build it, they will come. I mean, I've seen him pretty much take over warehouses, book a bunch of up-and-coming names. Those up-and-coming names blow up, they're the next up. And then that relationship and rapport translates to him getting those artists for life because of that first or second or third show. And to this day, he's still booking all of that. So, never be afraid if there's too much of something to not do it as well, because there's nothing to say that you can't do it differently. And that's what it's about,
Yeah, I feel like I should have ended on a more lighthearted note. It's definitely, loyalty is there. If you support an artist since day one, when they blow up, they're gonna stay with you if you put in the same amount of work. I represent this group called Machine Girl. We've been together for 5 years. We're currently on tour with 100 gags. We went from 80 people in someone's bedroom to like playing the Palladium in May. So if your loyalty is there, you put in the work, it'll pay off.
We're talking about adversity, right?
I
And
mean,
for artists, is that what, I lost the question.
All of you had to break through walls of adversity and obstruction in order to find your place, get your stage, and be where you're at. All of you have like a very good fan base of people that I admire, appreciate, and value that have paid dues tenfold, and they put you above themselves, just like I do sometimes. So I think at the end of the day, like, it takes a lot of grit to do that. So, I mean, we have 3 women on this stage. I just got done doing a festival where it was 80% male, and I was just like, you can't do better in 2023. And then I did a conference as well, and I'm sitting here looking at their program, and it's like 4 men talking on stage with a male host. I manage female talent. That shit kills me because the girls that I'm working with can't get on. So, yeah.
I definitely will touch both of those things from an artist perspective and then live music space, because this is a space that I'm getting into because of that. I couldn't see where there was going to be any opportunity for me to perform in the settings, on the bills, in the environments that I wanted to, unless I went and tried my hand at building those platforms, or trying my hand at being a talent booker, trying to get some of my homies, in on some of these larger, concerts and shows, because I thought it was important for us to see all different types of rap music being represented, especially the underground, dirty loops, all of the hip hop that's celebrated now really didn't have a fair chance at being represented on bigger stages, especially if you were a woman. So I noticed that. I felt that. I felt like, as an MC, I felt like I was qualified to be on bigger stages. I felt like I had hit certain benchmarks and put in enough time, and I write my own rhymes, right? I own my music, so how come I can't perform on these same stages with my peers or people that I was writing for? So it was just discouraging to feel like I accomplished a lot as an independent musician, and then I just have to stop because I'm not going to be recognized by bigger entities or organizations or agencies. I wouldn't get that push. So I can tell you that I think the best thing I ever did was pivot for a second and try my hand at creating more events, because I think what it did was, one, it gave me more respect for what event planners and producers do logistically. There's a lot that goes into that, but it also made me appreciate my own art more and want to see more artists and more of my peers get a fair shake at, getting an opportunity to perform on those stages. As a woman, as a Black woman, double the amount of difficulty in being myself in music. Double the amount. But I just figured the more that I did, the more people would have to accept my type of speech. You know what I mean? My insight, my mind. I felt like if I did not do me to death on record, then there would not be any chance for anybody else. You know what I mean? I'm a 39-year-old woman, and I was like, well, I have a responsibility to the generations of MCs, women, and men next. So I just stuck to my script of being who I am. I was more and more and more myself on record. Whoever accepts that, whoever likes it, cool. And I got very comfortable with whoever might not. And I just got very comfortable in that space. I'm very much myself. And I noticed my mindset changed. Some of the difficulties or things that I thought were difficult before definitely became more of a, well, that's just the game. I can get through that, dealing with everybody, not everybody, but the consensus not thinking you write your own rhymes, or not wanting to sign. Why would a woman not want to sign? Like, for the most part, there wasn't a lot of women signed at the time, so why would I turn down a deal? Or why would I turn down working with this person or that? Because I wanted to keep myself. Like, that's the most honest answer I can give you. I wanted to keep myself, and I wanted to carve my own way, and then encourage other MCs, women, whatever the case, to do the same. So, yeah, the long of it is, the difficulties sort of never go away. But the more and more comfortable that you get with yourself, everything seems to just be easier. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep it real.
So as far as overcoming adversity, for sure, I have overcome a lot. Like I said, I was born and raised here in Los Angeles, and I didn't go to college. For me, if you guys would have known me when I was a teenager to me here speaking at USC, like, this would never be, ever. I was involved with the gang. I was doing crystal meth at 15. My parents got divorced when I was 4, and my household was really violent and abusive. I ran away for the first time when I was 9 years old. My brother's in and out of juvenile hall. I've survived a few attempted murders. I've been in jail a few times, and my rap music really saved my life. So I've been through a lot, to be where I am now. It's really a miracle, and I always say, like, hip-hop saved my life and gave me a voice, gave me a reason to live. And as far as adversity in my career, like, I related to a lot of the things you said, like not having a space and having to create it. It brought me back to about 10 years ago when I first started. I knew I was dope, right? When I would perform at little shows, people would say, oh, you're so dope, and I was buzzing online. And I would see people going on tour, and I would wonder why people wouldn't take me on tour. And I would always be like, oh, I'm so dope. How come people don't take me on tour? I'm better than so-and-so, and I'm better than that person, and she's on tour, and he's on tour. And I always felt very entitled because of my skill. And I learned very quickly on in the rap game that nobody was going to hand me anything. And I want to let everybody in here know that in the rap game, or in just the art game specifically, it's very rare that you get handed anything. Like, it's cool that you guys are here in school, that's dope, but once you guys get out and start to really try to make it in the world of art, it's really hard out here. So don't wait for the perfect opportunity, don't wait for the perfect time, don't wait for you to go viral. You're not gonna be that 1 in a million person. You gotta work, put in the work. There's no shortcuts, and there's no easy way to go about it. So when I first started wanting to tour, like I said, I saw everybody getting booked for touring, and nobody was booking me, so I started booking my own tours. And to go on tour, it's very expensive if you are not getting paid. And I was booking all of these events myself, so I had to save up money. Oh, I used to throw backyard shows, and I would throw shows like in junkyards, at quinceañera halls, anywhere I could, I would do it. And eventually, I started wanting to go to Arizona and Denver and Utah, but I couldn't afford it because to rent out a venue, it's at least $1,000 a night. And if only 30 people are gonna come and pay $15 to see me, there's no way I could afford that, right? So I would go on Yelp and I would find ballet studios or yoga studios because you can rent those for like $15 an hour. And so I have to call like 10 yoga studios in Phoenix and beg them to let me do a hip hop show. And they were like, rap? No, I don't think so, sorry. You know, everyone was scared to let us perform there. And so I had to just make it happen. I would rent the van. I bought my own sound system. I booked all the acts. I took all my homies on tour. We would be like 12 people sleeping in one hotel room, like on the floor, everything. Like, it was really grimy. And when I did that a few times, people started seeing me touring. And I don't think a lot of people really noticed that I was doing it myself, you know? But eventually they saw, oh, she's touring, she's touring. And it's crazy because like the perception you have of yourself as an artist is always gonna be so different from the way everybody else perceives you, right? So eventually, when I started doing that enough times, people started offering to take me on tour. And so then I didn't have to book my tours, and then I was getting paid to tour, and then it was just a little bit of money at first, you know, but now, like I said, I've been to 23 countries to perform, and I tour in Europe like 3 times a year. I've been to Europe now 18 times in the past like 9 years. I've started my second passport because my first one got full. And it's just crazy like how I had to start from back there, you know, and the journey, it's a really tough journey to be successful in art. And that's why most artists are broke. That's why they have the term starving artists, because most artists are starving. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Because as long as you can pay your bills with your art, that's a liberty in itself. And some people are just content right there, and that's beautiful, you know, like they love what they do. But there is also a lot of ways for art to be lucrative, you know, and I'll tell you one thing, if you're a musician, streaming does not pay the bills. I never wait for the Spotify money to come in. You gotta make merchandise and you gotta do live shows, and that's where the bank is at. Consistency is really important, and I think also building your fan base is really important, and I feel like a lot of people don't really realize how hard it is to maintain a fan base either. Like a lot of people will have a hot hit, you know, but a year later, they haven't really done much more, you know, and they're stagnant. So consistency is important. It's really important not to become obsessed with the numbers, because you're not Beyonce, you're not Meg Thee Stallion, you know, like being an independent artist, you gotta just keep going. And the more you keep going, the more people are gonna respect you, the more they're gonna take you serious, the more you're gonna take yourself serious. And another good piece of advice that I would say is to not see losing as an option. Like you cannot have a plan B, or the plan A is never gonna work. Yeah.
Sheesh. From earning the keep to, you know, seeing people put in everything and get out nothing, and put in nothing and get out everything, it really puts things into perspective. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times that I put everything in, and then kind of like he said at the end, you know, across the street the same day after I put my life savings on the line, and just spent the last 6 months straight booking all of this talent and organizing and programming and getting every I dotted and T's crossed until my I's were crossed, and still getting crushed by corporate party across the street that I can't compete with, that has the entire CAA, Wasserman, Paradigm, et cetera, roster, you know, but you live to see another day, and you just have to take it on the cheek and keep it rolling. So, Leila.
Adversity. I'm just sitting in here thinking, since I am here and it took me hours to get here, and I'm in my 60s, so it means I've done it for a long time. Over 40 years I've been in music. I entered this space because of adversity. Because of race, because of the challenges in having honest conversations. And so I'm just thinking, what can I really offer? And what have I learned in all these years? And And I do artist development still. We stop thinking that it's crucial to develop our humanity, our artistry. So the first thing, I'm like listening to Eric, and I yell at every artist I work with that comes and mic, and I'm like, wow. So anyway, I'm old, so I feel like I gotta be able to say something. Eric, stop cupping the mic, please. You're gonna drive me
It's
crazy.
It's a rapper
You're
habit.
a rapper, I
It's a
know,
rapper
I
habit.
know.
We hold the mic, we sound clear, you know? There's so many people that don't know how to hold a mic.
But I said that to say we have to develop as human beings. Emotional literacy is crucial. If you don't have communication skills, you're ass out. The person that cleans your room is as important as who cooks your food, is as important as the driver who drives you on a tour. That safety is crucial, that you know how to read a room and know if something's going on, that every time you have a mic or a stage, you are responsible for everybody in a room, and that everyone's safety matters. I grew up in LA. I'm from LA, 64th in Vermont, and the migration went that I ended up on the beach in Malibu, and it has a lot to do with that I know I'm privileged. My mom came from Mexico. She did not have the same privilege that I walk in. And I went to schools in Los Angeles. We have two different school systems. We have schools for those that come from poverty and those that grow up in privilege, and I went to both. And it was always music and art that we all found our connection. And so I fell in love with art's possibility, and whether you're in tech or education or medicine or art, if you understand and have intention, you bypass all adversity. You find a way to keep going. So I would encourage all of us to turn our adversity into challenge, to do the work, and maybe think outside of boxes, because 40 years ago, we had no idea that at the click of a mouse, you access the world, and that that we have to, what we used to do hand-to-hand in flyers, we now have the internet, and we have Web3, and we have all these options. And I ended up, I was a young mother, and I ended up in an all-African band. I thought I must be really talented to be with these incredible artists. But what I understood was that in the 80s, it was difficult for 14 African artists to travel safely in this country. So what I didn't understand is that this incredible, brilliant Nigerian artist, Orlando Julius, took me on the road with them. I was good enough, but not that good. But I began to learn how to interact with the promoters, with the clubs, with those that do business. And when I toured with Orlando, I was passing out flyers for all the rappers I grew up with in LA. It was Uncle Jam's Army, it was Egyptian Lover, it was JJ Fad, it was all the early artists. And so I was passing out flyers when we were touring. So I began to learn the business. I suggest you learn all aspects of whatever it is you do. You have to know what marketing is so that you know that marketing team delivers. You have to know what your PR person does, your legal. You have to understand the job of your success. And I did every job. And as I learned, I began to handle the management of our band on the road. And then I started these workshops that I still do 34 years later, every Monday night and Wednesday night. So aimfortheheart.org, you could find me, or my name at Gmail. I am a resource. That's the other thing. You can access people. People don't think that they can access people. You hit me up, I showed up. If you keep knocking on a door, pushing, it will open. You have to know that. So when I met Pac, he was 16 years old, and Tupac was like, "You're gonna be my manager." I said, "I hate business. I'm not good at math. I would not be a good manager." And he started to pass my number out to everyone, and people go, "Oh, you manage Pac?" And I was like, "No." And then I loved him. I believed in him. He was amazing. So I would say, "I'm just gonna do this for a minute and help you out." And then, I don't know who discovered who. I think he discovered me and realized I could really do business. And all these years later, I do a lot of business, big business. I'm good. It took a long time. It wasn't easy. I've had a lot of trauma. I don't look like the trauma I've lived. at all. But you can't think I ran with Pac and didn't have some trauma in my life, or that living off 64th in Vermont was an easy ride. Like, I've been through some shit. And that's why I feel like I can use my voice. And I was in the early punk rock days. I'm always in rebellious music, because it's our rebellious artists that change things and that drive us. Like, music is revolutionary. You have to understand, if you want to be in this, you have to be authentic, and you have to be a revolutionary thinker. So I don't know if I have that much more to say. I'm just saying as much as I can, because I came here to be a resource, and I'm older than most of you in here. And get your elders. Stop throwing away your elders. They've been through it. They lived a little. If they're still here, it means that they made it to the other side and have something to share. And you're the whole package. And if you know that and fight to understand your worth and your value, people will begin to support you because they want a piece of that. And so anyways, thank you guys.
Yeah. I think I just discovered a rebellious trend, because to go from Tupac to Earl Sweatshirt, and I remember hanging out on Fairfax. Like, I had Vince Staples, Mike G, Sid at some of my first shows that were inside skate parks, that were inside malls, where you had people cracking their heads open on the half pipe, but the show would still go on with the whole band, rappers, art from Shepherd Ferry on the wall. Like, I've got videos.
I gotta tell you one
of
more
this.
thing. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, and that's the other thing. I said learn from your elders. We have to learn from our young ones too, but my Earl story really fast. I kind of left the business. I didn't like it. I focused on my nonprofit. I said, I am done with this. So I was doing my workshop all over that I've always done, that Pac and everyone went to, and my son was like, oh my gosh, that kid, he was 13. I was doing my program at Boys and Girls Club. And so he was like, oh, he's so talented. So I went up to him, I was like, you know, I do this workshop, and you should really come. He was 13. He was so rude to me. He rolled his eyes and was like you could teach me something? But you never know. And so anyway, fast forward, he got in trouble. Do you all know how he got sent away? Anybody? Well, if you know the Earl Sweatshirt story, it's interesting. But he ended up getting sent away. Now, I work in justice. I work in juvenile halls, in the prisons. I do that work. And so when he got in trouble, I ended up connecting to his mom, and I knew I could help him get out of his situation and come home. So anyway, she arranged a Skype for us to talk. He was in a facility, and you just never know who's going to end up. The person you were mean to might be the person that helps you get out and helps you with your whole career. So anyway, I just had to tell you that, because I ended up like, you remember me? The one that you were like, I can't get anything from you. But anyway, it's been 12 years now, and I've learned so much from him. I think I learned a lot about my worth and my value from this kid, this teenager that brought me back in the business and gave me an opportunity to help heal and correct the mistakes we made with Tupac and many after. So again, even though I said the old folks have a lot to teach, the young ones just as much, and we need not be so ageist and work more together. So anyway, sorry, I just had to keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the beauty in having all ages showcases, because at the end of the day, you never know who's going to touch a mic for the first time, or CDJs or turntables, and something clicks. You give them an SP404 or an MPC or Ableton or whatever it is, and something changes. And it's like the first time, like just by throwing events, like I've learned how to do graphic design, how to do web design, how to do copywriting, how to do talent buying, how to do programming. And with Leila, I used to do a thing called the Art of Artist Management and Development, where we would literally bring in people from Beyonce's team to you name it. And we would have a couple hundred people just listening to us give advice for free, remotely, didn't care what your pay grade was, if you were broke, if you were wealthy, if you're black, white, brown, purple, yellow, did not matter. The bottom line is you show up, and if you keep showing up, you get rewarded by the information that we're sharing, and then you apply it, and you come back the following week or following month, and you say, holy shit, like, that worked. And I think there's a lot of things that are working for all of you. So I'm going to take us out on the final question. Pizza or pineapple? No, I'm just kidding. What? Psychedelic water, yes. Shout out to our sponsors, Rare Pizzas and Psychedelic Water.
Is it actually psychedelic?
It can be if you drink enough of it. And I don't suggest people drink too much of it just because of the caffeine. But if you were to give one or two really valuable pieces of advice or information that people can take home, all of you have different backgrounds, different stories. I know a lot of most of them to this point, and I also don't know shit to a good point. So if you could leave somebody or everybody in this room with a piece of advice or information that, you know, really, really, really helped you in your artist journey or creator journey or path to success, because you all are successful, even though we define it differently, feel free to grab the mic and drop some knowledge.
I feel like a piece of advice that I would give is that you need to figure out why you want to make art for a living. Because there's some people that want to make art for a living because they love making art and they want to be fulfilled and they want to be happy with what they spend most of their time doing, you know? But then there's some people who want to make art because they want to be rich and successful. And there's nothing wrong with either one. But the way you got to approach the two different things is really different. So if you're trying to make art for a living, there's a lot of the same rules. But if you're trying to make art for a living because you love it, you got to be realistic about what you're going to do in the future, you know, and is it going to be sustainable for you? Are you going to be able to afford a family? Are you going to be able to afford a home? If you don't want a home, you're going to rent, that's fine too, you know. You got to think about the future. Like, you also have to plan for the future when you're going to retire, you know. You got to just really think ahead. And also, that takes a lot of balls, and it takes a lot of self-confidence too. A lot of people are not going to believe in what you're doing. A lot of people are not going to understand why you want to make art for a living. Why don't you just get a real job? Why don't you go back to school? Why don't you do something professional? Like, these are questions that people are always going to ask you. And you got to just know that that comes with living the lifestyle. And it's really cool to just make art because you really like doing it, because it just makes the art so pure, and it makes the art so like healing and free and just like exciting and spontaneous, you know, and it's in its own way, it's really a luxury to be an artist that is not worried about succeeding and being the next big thing, you know, like it's a really beautiful life to live that because you have so much freedom. But then on the other side, if you want to be successful, and it depends on what kind of success you want, you got to be really strategic with what you're doing. You can't just like do whatever you want. Like, if people like when you wear the color blue, you better wear the color blue, you know? If people like when you rap over this beat, you better rap over those beats. And if people tell you to do whatever it is, you got to do what the people say. You got to do what the numbers say. And you got to just be really strategic. You can't be just like, oh, I want to do this. Okay, let me do that. Oh, I want to just do that, you know. And you could also do a mix of the two, you know. I feel like I'm kind of like in the middle. Right now, this year, I'm leaning towards doing more strategic stuff and doing more what the numbers say. And I always have a really hard time with that because I really love being an artist because I am an artist. I love making art. So it's hard for me to follow like that way, you know. And I have found a way to be in the middle. But like I said, if you just want to be rich and successful, you got to be really strategic. It's just a whole nother approach. So I would say personally that's one of the most important things. Figure out why you're doing it, because the approaches are going to be very different. And if you do want to make any substantial amount of money with your art, you have to be really self-disciplined. You have to be really good at money management. You have to be good at like deciding what's worth your time. You have to not try to string people along. You have to try to stop like watering dead plants and making people do things because you think they're dope or because they're your friend or because you believe in them. Like, you gotta only work with people that are gonna elevate with you. I would say those are really important pieces of advice that I would like to leave with you guys today. And other than that, just, this shit is hard. It is hard to be an artist for a living. It is nearly impossible. That's why most people don't do it. That's why for most people, art is just a hobby. And art is a great hobby. If you want just art to just be a hobby, please indulge in that because it's so therapeutic and it makes you feel good, you know? And I didn't start my music for it to be a business. I just started doing it because I like it. And even how I said, like, making music not to be, like, so successful, it's a luxury in a sense that now, like a few years ago, I could just make a song right now because I wrote it right now because I had time, and that was just how I made music for so many years. But now I'm so busy doing like emails and bookings and all kinds of boring business shit that I don't like doing, you know, but I have to do it because now I have my staff and I have bills to pay, and I now have to schedule my studio sessions like at least a week in advance, and it's just not really the same, you know. And so I would just say, just be really, really aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Yeah, thank you for having me, and you can check out my music, Reverie, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, I'm there, SoundCloud, all that. Yeah, thank you for having us.
I think the two things that I really want people to consider or just follow, self-define. The more that you know who you are, or at least craft out who you are for your own self, I think that that'll help you just go through the mental wear and tear of the industry or any process, because you'll know who you are through and through. You have specific things that you want to accomplish that only you know, and you know how you're built better than anybody else, and you have visions in your own head, so you should commit to those and stick to those. I think listening to so many other people define me or tell me what category I fit kept me in a mental bind and a creative bind, and that translated into a financial bind because I was not comfortable with really tapping in or giving more of myself. I was told that wasn't okay. Shave it down, keep it small, it's too big, it's too black, it's too street, it's too Los Angeles, it's too whatever the case. I was told those things, and I think the more that I was like, well, I am those things. Let me put it in a rap. Like, it worked. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think self-defining and really, naming yourself and having a clear understanding of who you are before you just dive in anything is important, whether it's music or whatever. The second part, I would really encourage people to experiment, and I think you can experiment and learn and grow at any age. You know what I mean? Best thing I ever did was pick up a beat machine. Best thing I ever did was learn logistics, like technical logistics for throwing a festival. Best thing I ever did was get smacked in the face by a contract I couldn't interpret. You know what I mean? All those things that I did not know, I had to go and resource and find out and research and ask questions, and it made me more curious, and it made the rhymes come out great, and it made the music come out way better, and it gave me a different sort of confidence, because now I know what the other side, with that resistance, that wall, or whatever I need to do to get to that other side to get somebody to like take me in, I kind of know now why they weren't before. You know, maybe my deck wasn't quite put together. You know, there's little things that can like take you over the hump. It's like, yeah, I want to stay independent and not like try to adhere or follow a corporate model or industry model of being an artist, but there is some things that you got to do to tighten up. You know what I mean? So I think learning, growing, experimenting, being yourself are like the keys. Like I don't know what has helped me more than being that. Those two things in combination, and took me almost 40 years to figure that out, but I'm still learning. That's the point. You know what I mean? So that's what I got to say.
Is this on?
Oh, there we go.
Help me out.
Yeah.
Okay, I was loud. I was about to say I don't need the mic. Consistency is my favorite word. Whatever you're interested in, whether it's tech, art, whatever, consistency. Keep showing up. How many of you are into music in the room? You're here because of music. Okay. So this is the most toxic industry there is. I don't care if you're a country artist or rock, whatever it is. It is not a healthy industry. You are holding space and translating life for people. Wherever you go with your art form, what you do in this space affects your mental health, no matter what. And athletes, we keep athletes healthy to perform. We keep artists addicted. We keep them unhealthy because the money is so big, and in order to control artists, the companies that have dealt with artists for eons have kept them in unhealthy spaces. They would do the same with athletes, but then they wouldn't have the delivery that they get. And so my suggestion is you find a way to deal with your mental health and to be in a space so that you can keep going, because the money don't matter when you're a mess. And the other thing is, you've got to have an ego to want to be on stage and think anyone wants to hear you. Like, who wants to hear me today? I get really insecure. Every time I get on a stage, I'm scared. Most people would never know it. My kids and grandkids don't even want to hear me talk anymore because I talk so much. But I'm actually not comfortable. I'm socially awkward, and I have to do a lot of pretending. That's a lot to hold on to and to have to do. And so I say that to say artists have egos, and you have to figure out what drives your ego, and if you have this desire to make a difference, or you just need a lot of attention. And like you said, whatever, it's fine either way, but know why you do it, and don't get blinded by your own shine. Like, don't feel like you're so important and so big that it blinds you and you lose it all. So thank you guys for having me.
Hello. I feel like you guys said so much good things. I don't have much left to say. But I guess to sum up, I feel like two things are the two important thing to me. It's do things that you believe in. It will always work at the end of it. To quote one of my favorite artists, Daniel Johnston, during his lifetime, people didn't really care about him. And when he passed, very recently, but you know, he was schizophrenic. But years after he made his music, one day on MTV, Nirvana wore his album cover on the shirt. And then he started getting recognition. But at this point, he was already mentally insane. And he had this song called True Love Will Find You in the End. And it's something I believe. If you do things you believe in, it will always work for you. Another thing, you know, like we on the stage and, you know, talk as, you know, if we've done this and a lot older than you guys, you know. Being young, it's awesome. You have a lot of advantage than what we have. I mean, I'm older, but like just older than anything like 5 rows back, but not to try and talk like I know it all, but you guys are tapped in. You use Snapchat, you use TikTok, you see the next thing that's come up. You have first resources than you and I do. Her kid found Earl. You know what I mean? So you're tapped in with those people. It could be just this person sitting next to you that's gonna become the next star. The reason I was doing, like, my business worked out and, you know, I can be an independent business survive in one of the most competitive Los Angeles because I started as a kid. And then I just happened to knew things before everyone else found it out, before major label A&R. I did the first Kuko show, first Jack Harlow show, first Ethel Cain show, first Circur show, and many more artists like that, because I was young. I was tapped in. I did the first Drain Gang show, Blade, Echo 2K, all these artists that you may heard of, and you heard of because you're young. You're tapped in. So use that as your resources, as your power, and take advantage of that. Listen to what we say, but take a grain of salt. And don't let us tell you what to do, because sometimes you just know better than we do. And do things that you believe in. And I guess my last most important advice is just fucking do it. Like, you have to do it. If you don't do it, it's never gonna happen. Once you do it, just figure it out. No one knows how it works. You do it, you'll figure it out.
Man. Yeah. And I'm wondering, well, I'll let you go first then.
You know what? I thought of one more thing that I have to say. You're never going to succeed if you don't know how to lose, okay? That is so, so important. If you give up really easily, just don't even try. Just stop today. Like, just give up already. Like, because you're going to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And after you fail 10 times, you're going to win once. And then you're going to fail 10 more times. And like I said, your family and your friends, everyone's gonna tell you, "Oh, it's not gonna work. What are you gonna do after you're done with your little rap thing? Or when you're gonna go back to school? When you're gonna?" Yeah, people, they told me that for years. Now nobody says it anymore. But for years, people were always putting me down. And you know what? Because I was failing and failing. And I'll tell you something, I still fail all the time. But just know that to succeed, you have to be good at failing. If you have you said you have to have an ego, and you do. You have to have such a big ego that after you lose and lose and lose, you get up and you're like, I'm still here doing it, you know? You got to keep going. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, nobody knows everything, right? And I like to say the grass is green where you water it. You know, you don't water it enough, it can't grow. You water it too much, it can't grow. And if you're giving all your water to everybody else, then you can't grow, right? And on top of it, like, you know, just in a matter of like knowing your why, sometimes that takes a lifetime for people, and sometimes they wake up and they got it and they follow it to the nth degree. And I'll never forget how many times I was told no and got just literally brutally, like, I got booed off stages when I moved to LA because I was rocking all my New York gear, and it was an East Coast versus West Coast thing, and they're very cliquey out here, and that was like Project Blow time in Leimert Park. Anyways, but now, you know, show and prove, and 15 years later, like, I'm rocking the 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 person stage. I'm booking like YG at Tim Mack Studios in Hollywood with 40 Bloods behind him saying like, yo, this dude's rocking it, you know? But anyways, the point is that, like, nobody knows it all. Nobody can tell you shit once you can prove it yourself, right? And at the end of the day, you do the work, you earn your keep, and then you have the confidence and you have the opportunity and ability to look backward, right? And what happens is everything that you do in life leaves a pattern or a footprint or a fingerprint or a template. So think about anything that you've done successfully and know that you can do it again and again and again following those same steps. So, you know, you want to learn how to DJ, you want to learn how to rap, you want to learn how to write, you want to learn how to code, you want to learn how to build websites. You're creating a template that you can follow, and if you get good at it, you can get faster and it becomes easier, and eventually you can teach people how to do it. You can extend that olive branch, and then they can do that work while you do other work, and they're still inspired and motivated to do that work and dig down that rabbit hole. So at the end of the day, the point is, like, I just want to reinforce and reiterate, nobody knows everything again and again and again. Before streaming was a thing, I had an online open mic called Freestyle Madness, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could come onto my platform and rap. This came about from me rapping in chat rooms and charging people $1 per person to join and making more money than both of my parents combined, freestyle rapping for hours and doing prank calls in chat rooms where people couldn't even see my face because we didn't even have webcams, right? And I kept knocking on doors and telling people in the music industry that streaming was the future. This is really gonna fuck up your industry or really help it out. This is the future. Everybody said streaming, what does that have to do with water? Like, I don't get it. What are you trying to pitch us right now? You're 20 years old talking about the future of things, and look at streaming now. And same thing with like cannabis. When I moved to the West Coast, like because of all the door slams on streaming, like we started growing weed, and friends were getting locked up for it. And I had moved from New York to Austin, Texas, to LA, and I just saw so much negativity and stigma surrounding by something that I saw physically and mentally helping people. And it rehabilitated and helped me recover from a near fatal car accident. But way back then, like, I saw it go from illegal to legal, and just the same thing as streaming. And in the last part as well with, like, you know, where we're at today. Today we have a whole new toolbox. It's the Web3 toolbox. It's a mixture of things called smart contracts, it's tokenomics, it's blockchain, it's metaverses, it's AR, it's VR, it's XR, it's AI. It's a lot. It's non-fungible tokens. It's a lot. And because it's all experimental, that means everybody in the world has a chance to be a first mover. First mover advantage, I don't know if you saw like Tila Tequila on MySpace, or 40 Ounce Van, and Yes Jules and Karen Civil on Instagram, or me on Clubhouse, or Twitter Spaces even. Like, the bottom line is there's a learning curve and there's an advantage at being first. Most of the time, average Joe does not get an opportunity to be first in any world, in any industry, because it's all inside, and that changes generational gaps of finance and opportunity. So you all are the future. You have an opportunity to be first and explore your hearts out with all of this new stuff, because we're still using antiquated legacy technology that is predatory and exploitive and really just pushing and enabling really bad habits through social media and beyond. So I appreciate you all being here, beating the algorithm, and supporting our speakers. We have one more panel, then we get into some music. There's a lot of people in this room that I see that should be sitting right next to other people in this room. So the people that are beside you, in front of you, and behind you, it's like, take note, make friends. They don't bite. And if you need help with an introduction because of social anxiety or introversion, like, I'm here, I'll do it for you. And if you can, give a round of applause and follow these amazing, talented speakers and individuals. Thank you all.
Thank you guys for coming out. Awesome.
The water tastes great.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Camille.
Thank you, Nigel. Appreciate you. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
All right. Thank you, guys. If you guys could squish up to the front, we got 3 epic speakers coming up right now for the second panel. So if everyone could just make their way, squish up to the front. We got Kevin Lyman here to speak. We got Irko here to speak. And we got Patch Bay here to speak.
Push that one over there.